Hi y'all, welcome back to round 5 here. He needs a booster seat. He can't, we have a stool right here for a co-commentator, and mine can't sit on it because that's what you see. But we got a really interesting match because it's win and in essentially. Whoever wins this match is pretty much guaranteed to go to our top 8. It's Terran Seifert on the left. She was also co-casted with me a little bit earlier, so you definitely should know her. And Dina, Ibrahim, who's another very well-known player in the area. So two very well-known players going to go head-to-head. Terran on the left with Incineroar, Stakataka, Salamence, Tapu Fini, Lunala, and Groudon, while Dina carrying Xerneas, Rayquaza, Incineroar, Landorus, Therian, Tapu Fini, and Gengar. So very few similarities here. You have the Incineroar and you have Tapu Fini, but other than that, they're very different in teams. You do have the Ghost type, but Terran using Lunala, which has been essentially a nightmare for a lot of people here, especially for our poor tournament organizer Miguel, who we all love whenever it uses Z-move. So hopefully it won't today. But it definitely, with the Gengar and the Lunala, it's going to be pretty tricky in that case because that could go either way, and they're both very good counters to each other. Stakataka is something that Dina wants to watch out for with Xerneas, and frankly Rayquaza too with Gyro Ball, because Rayquaza is a relatively fast Pokemon. We've got double Intimidates on the field here and double Fake Outs with Incineroar as usual, so pretty much it's tough to call here right away. There's no clear typing advantage on either side, so it's going to really come down to how each person plays today, as it should with Pokemon. Once again, Terran's going to be on the left side, and she's going to lead with Incineroar Lunala. And we got Dina on the right with Incineroar Rayquaza, so both of them leading with Incineroar and one of their restricted legendaries. And right off the bat, we can see Rayquaza's Airlock, and now the Intimidate, that's kind of the moment of truth. We see Dina's Incineroar partially outspeeding Terran, so there's a shot that is not a speed tie. The shot Dina will be able to go for that fake out first, and in this case, if Dina goes for that fake out, it has to target Terran's Incineroar. Lunala is not effective. Lunala is such a versatile Pokemon because, especially in this format where you really could use anything. You can go for that Trick Room, you can go for the Tailwind. Wide Guard we've seen a little bit of. We've seen Mega Rayquaza right off the bat. There's no real use in keeping it a normal Rayquaza, except unless you're saving Mega Gengar for the back, so that might be a clue that Dina did not bring in that Gengar here. But obviously you can't really tell until the very end. And we do see that fake out from Dina's Incineroar onto Terran, so kind of gives us that clue that we do have an advance in speed with Dina's. Crunch coming on to connect with Lunala, the defense drops, and one more of those will take Lunala out, but first, and Terran's Incineroar is happy about this because it just did its little roar right there. Terran's able to get that Trick Room up with her Lunala, so kind of with that out of the way, we now know what Terran wants to do with that Lunala. We know the strategy with that. So that's a bit of a blessing and a curse, because Terran is going to be able to outspeed Rayquaza with pretty much any one of her Pokemon, but that Lunala is going to be threatened by both of Dina's Pokemon, because the Incineroar has got a Dark Attack, most likely, and if it doesn't, that's really the first. And Rayquaza we saw had Crunch, so Terran really needs to either protect or swap that Lunala. And Incineroar against both of Dina's Pokemon is in a tough spot as well, but definitely has that speed advantage. Rayquaza out of there. We see that Delta Stream drop out and going into Landorus Therian here. So that Intimidate going to affect Terran's Incineroar once again, now at -2. While Lunala is going to get affected as well, but it's not really going to help too much. We see Lunala stay in, a bit surprising there, and a Snarl is going to connect with both of Dina's Pokemon. Bit interesting since both of them are physical attackers, and that Throat Chop, Dark Attack, 4 times weak, that Lunala's gone. Now the Lunala gone, it gives Terran the option to kind of pivot into a better position when it comes to Pokemon, because her Incineroar Lunala combo could not really handle either of Dina's Pokemon right off the bat. You need to kind of chip them down a little. So now that she's able to bring in something different with Tapu Fini now, that's definitely going to be able to help, especially if the Fini is carrying Haze. That can eliminate all the Intimidates that have been given to Terran's Incineroar to this point. So a lot of options here. You have Icy Wind as well, which though would be pretty bad in Trick Room, can do some decent damage onto Landorus, which is 4 times weak. Got a few options here. I wouldn't be surprised if we also see the Incineroar swap out from Terran's side. Kind of uses Finny to maneuver into whatever your final Pokemon is. You can U-turn out with this Incineroar and just go into a better spot here. And there's that U-turn. It does connect with Dina's Incineroars, not the protected Landorus, and that... So now Terran can go into that final Pokemon partner with the Tapu Fini for a pretty decent spot here. Now, and we're going to see that Groudon, so definitely the spot you want to be in right now. Should be a bit scared of that Landorus, but, you know, if you were carrying Eruption, that's going to be good. If you're carrying Fire Punch, that can knock it out as well. You really just got to play your cards right on which ones these is most threatening, and for sure on Terran's side, that's the Landorus. Because Dina right now has got a really good matchup. We're going to see that Incineroar U-turn out on top of Finny, and like I said, Dina's got, in my opinion, the better matchup here. You have that Landorus. You do not outspeed quite yet, and if you have Protect, you might be able to outspeed that outlast that Trick Room, where you can outspeed in the turn afterwards. And we're going to see Rayquaza come back in, which I think is the right play here, because if you're able to outlast the Trick Room, Rayquaza, it really puts a real damper onto Groudon here, because not only is now the Eruption or Fire Punch no longer going to do that much damage, but Precipice Blades or any ground attack, which is pretty much Groudon's primary attack, is not going to hit any of Dina's Pokemon. So definitely a good spot for her at the moment. Yeah, Terran's got to maneuver herself right here to. You do have that one turn of Trick Room. I just think Dina's going to be able to go for that double protect and just call what Terran is going to do. We see Landorus switch out, though, so maybe that Landorus is choice item because it didn't go for protect, or is assault vested, or something where it would be threatened here. But that Intimidate from Incineroar is going to cripple Terran's Groudon, and Groudon wants to stay alive, doesn't want to get hit by the Landorus, and is going to protect itself. Gravity from Tapu Fini coming out, that is what Terran needed in this case, because now the Rayquaza and the Landorus can get hit from Precipice Blades, and we see Waterfall with that Delta Stream, so it's tricky here because, it's tough for Terran here, because you have one turn of Trick Room, and you essentially need to knock out this Rayquaza. It's not impossible. You do have possible Icy Wind or Moonblast on this Tapu Fini, partner that with the Precipice Blades, and you're in for a decent spot. We see that swap out from Dina with that Incineroar. We saw the Landorus. I think that's definitely what she's going to go back into, because at that point the Groudon will be, there it is, but at that point the Groudon's going to be intimidated -2, so even if it hits a Precipice Blades, it's really going to be in a bad spot. Terran really needs to get rid of this Rayquaza, or I think that's going to do it. I think that might just be the end of the game. We see that Precipice Blades connect. Not doing much onto either Pokemon, and Finny goes for the Heal Pulse a little too early. That Waterfall is going to get out with the Groudon, and Dina is going to be able to pick up the knockout on the Primal Groudon, thanks to that 4 times weakness to water. And now it is Incineroar and Tapu Fini versus the rest of Dina's team. And that's a bit tough because, like I was been saying earlier, this is what Terran needed to do, was to get into that position where you use the Groudon, because this combination is just not going to do it with Landorus and Rayquaza on the field. Rayquaza just needs to go for Dragon Ascent onto Tapu Fini. It's going to survive, but then Landorus clicks Earthquake, and that's the end of it. Even though it would probably affect the Rayquaza and do a decent amount into that too, it would get rid of that Incineroar most likely, to the point where you also have stuff in the back that it doesn't really matter if you knock out your own Rayquaza. So at this point, it looks like Ibrahim's gonna take game number 1, but we're gonna see the switch out of Rayquaza, and we're gonna see that Delta Stream remove, and going into Incineroar again. So picking up more Intimidates, going to cycle that out, especially at this point when Terran cannot switch that Incineroar out. You want to make sure they can't hit as hard as intended. Oh, there's Fake Out. It's kind of prolonging what's going to happen here. And we see a Z Crystal, which is background EMZ from Dina's Landorus. So that is going to be definitely the game for Dina here. But it does also provide a little bit of information for Terran to use, so that could go into her favor when it goes to game 2. But at this point, Dina definitely had controlled the game perfectly by knocking out that Groudon and targeting the right Pokemon at the right time. And she's going to definitely end up taking the game here because of it. Top of Vinny going for that Nature's Madness that will cut Incineroar's current HP in half, but again, there's no possible chance that can knock out, and at this point, you just click on Earthquake and maybe U-turn, U-turn or switch into Rayquaza, click Earthquake, that's it. So Misty Terrain gonna run out on the next turn. Gravity got 2 turns left, not that it matters, but Gravity, the 2 turns on Gravity might matter later for Landers. Comes back in after switching out. The Intimidate cycle is not gonna really matter anymore anyway, and yeah. So I'm thinking going into game 2, what Terran really needs to do is, now that we know the threat of that Lunala with the Rayquaza having Crunch and Waterfall, that essentially Dina's Rayquaza was built to handle both of Terran's restricted legendaries. You know that now, you're able to kind of counter it. Rayquaza's got that insane weakness to Ice, though it is helped with the Delta Stream. You really need to, I think if you're Terran, you just target that Rayquaza. Make sure it doesn't survive long enough to get rid of both of your restricted legendaries, because looking at the rest of her team, currently, at least the 4 she brought in now, that's not going to be enough to get rid of the rest of Dina's team. So Dina, on the opposite side, has to essentially keep her Rayquaza alive the longest, because it is able to pretty much counter all of Terran's team. So we see that Dragon Ascent coming out, trying to finish the match right here. So I think there's a lot of mind games that are going to go into this next game, because Dina knows her Rayquaza is now a huge target. It's pretty much, it is the biggest target on her team. So knowing that, when do you bring it in is the question. Do you lead with it and just try and shut down Terran right immediately with her team, or do you save it for the back as essentially the last line of defense, knowing that you have attacks that can get rid of all of her legendaries? So it's a bit tricky. And then it really also then, if you think that and you think, okay, when do I bring in Rayquaza? Terran on the opposite has to think the same thing. When do I bring in my legendaries? Do I bring it? You want to bring them in against not Rayquaza? So you got to figure it out. You got to figure out. Terran's ready, but you got to essentially get mind games, because it's essentially a whole bunch of mind games. Well, Terran is already ready. She knows what she's doing here. I think the Trick Room helped a lot. It definitely... The only thing that I think Terran might want to do here is maybe try and prevent Fake Out right away, because that did hurt her. It definitely hurt her earlier. We obviously couldn't know who would be the faster Incineroar on the field, but Dina having the faster Incineroar really allowed, though it did set up the Trick Room, it allowed Terran to take that chip damage on the Lunala. So now knowing that, you can kind of bring in maybe something like Stakataka, or something that won't get immediately knocked out. But even if you bring in Stakataka, you do have Rayquaza with Waterfall, so it's definitely tricky. While Dina here, I think we didn't see Xerneas from Dina, but then again, we only did see 3 of her Pokemon, so there's a possibility that the Xerneas was hanging out in the back. But for a 4th Pokemon, Dina's got a few interesting options. You have Gengar, so maybe if your Rayquaza goes down and you have that, and Incineroar is just not going to do much, you can bring that in as for help for Lunala, but you know, with this combination that Dina's bringing out right now, that might not be necessary. But we're seeing the exact same leads as the last round, the Incineroar and Lunala on Terran's side, Dina going for Rayquaza and Incineroar. And once again, now knowing the speed tie, now knowing all of the tricks Rayquaza can play, I think I'm definitely curious to see what Terran is going to do on this, because we know that last time it didn't work out for her, and I think it's all because of that Rayquaza. So what is that strategy? What is the strategy to get rid of that Rayquaza? One thing that's interesting too that I didn't wanted to mention is Groudon, if it switches into Mega Rayquaza, will get that Desolate Land up, so it won't be threatened by the Waterfall. That's something Terran might want to keep in mind if she has Groudon in the back. We see the Lunala right now, but you definitely want to shut down that Rayquaza, because I'm looking at the rest of Dina's team right now, or from the last game. I don't know. I think if you shut down that Rayquaza, that's her main hitter. So let's take a look. So we are going to see that Lunala switch out. Definitely a wise play. Going into Tapu Fini, so if that Crunch comes out one more time, it's going to go on to a resisted attack here. It's going to be a resisted attack onto Tapu Fini. Misty Surge, preventing any status conditions. And we see the Incineroar switch out. So Terran getting another Intimidate out onto Dina's side. So that's Salamence coming out. Now Dina's Pokemon are double intimidated, so they're both at -2. And that was a good play, because now Terran's going to be able to position herself where Rayquaza is no longer a threat to either one of her Pokemon. It just Mega Evolved, so the Delta Stream activates, and now Groudon can come in. No Groudon, actually, this turn. This game. So there's that. So that doesn't even matter. But Crunch going to target that top Affinity slot, but no Fake Out on this turn. Critical hit gets it down around 70 health, and the Throat Chop combination. They wanted Lunala out, but Terran saw what they were doing, and that Lunala is not going to go down to his turn, staying alive in the back. Rayquaza most likely fastest on the field, but Salamence now in control here. Salamence has that option for Tailwind, and Terran's team is one of those teams where you could work with any speed condition as long as you set something up. You set up the Tailwind, it'll work. You set up Trick Room, it'll work, but if you're normal speed, it's going to be tricky. Landorus coming in to put another Intimidate out on Terran's side, so now we have the -2 on the Incineroar, the -1 on both of Terran's, and Landorus is neutral on Dina's side. And there's that Mega Salamence coming out as with that croissant-shaped wing. Makes me hungry every time. We see Hyper Voice right away, so no Tailwind, we see Hyper Voice. Special attack is not going to do very much on the Incineroar, kind of insinuating that might be Assault Vest. Icy Wind going to do some decent damage onto Landorus because of that 4x weakness, and it's going to pick up that knockout, so Landorus is gone. And it drops the speed of Incineroar, so now Incineroar needs to switch out, otherwise Terran's own Incineroar is going to outspeed, but it is going to switch out with the U-turn. And kind of Dina in this case can get that Incineroar back in play, pick up a second Intimidate on the Salamence, kind of locking it into just Hyper Voice, and possibly using Fake Out on the next turn with this Xerneas. Now this is a bit of a risk here if Dina decides to set up the Xerneas right away, because you have this Tapu Fini, and Tapu Fini has Haze. So we haven't seen it yet, but it gets Haze as a move. And it's very common, actually. It's one of the more common moves you can have on Tapu Fini. So if Terran decides, yeah, I know what they're doing, clicks Haze, that's pretty much it right there for that Tapu Fini. One thing Terran can do is switch back into her own Incineroar. That poses a big threat to Xerneas on the next turn, because you know that Fake Out is coming. But the because the Fake Out will prevent it from moving, and the Haze will get rid of that Geomancy. So Terran, I think, has a bit more control here in this matchup, especially looking at what Dina has in the back with Rayquaza. It is still a hard hitter, but it really can't do too much onto Salamence now, and that we saw that switch out for Salamence to Groudon. I'm sorry, to Salamence from Groudon. I think that Terran might have adjusted right with that play. And there's that Incineroar switch in, going possibly to make sure Xerneas does not get that Geomancy up for long. Or maybe, if Dina calls this, won't see the Geomancy set up at all. Tapu Fini gets faked out, and there's the Geomancy, so a bit of a risk here. Like I said, Terran fakes out Xerneas, uses Haze, and that's the end of that Geomancy. But Dina, I don't know. I think that Geomancy was a mistake. I don't know. Dina could totally prove me wrong. She's a great player. Has made the top 8 a few times recently, at least from the top of my memory. And can definitely turn this around because it's Pokemon. There's no winner, and it's never settled until the very end. So, but right now, I think Terran, if that Tapu Fini has Haze, has control of this game. Misty Terrain up for 2 more turns. Not that it really matters in this case. Xerneas is going to protect. That doesn't really matter. It's going to come down to if Dina's Incineroar can knock out Tapu Fini, I think. There's the Fake Out, connects to Xerneas. There's that. Icy Wind from Tapu Fini, so not a Haze. Not a Haze. That might be crucial. Because Dina's Xerneas is going to survive with that Geomancy, so now it's still at the +2 and everything. Incineroar switching out from Dina's side to go into Rayquaza. I think Dina might have just taken control now. Definitely in a better spot. Rayquaza coming out once again. Mega Rayquaza with that Delta Stream, so... You know, Dina just needs a single win here. Just needs to win this game. And she's pretty much locked into a top 8 spot. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be a tough one. It's tough, too, because looking at Terran's team, you have the Incineroar on the top of Finny, but you also have Lunala and Salamence in the back, and both of them are going to struggle against this Xerneas, so... Finny really needs to go for Haze, but at this point, with that Moonblast targeting the top of Finny, there's no way it's going to take it. Rayquaza goes for that Dragon Ascent at full power. No Intimidates for this Rayquaza, and that's going to do a massive amount of damage onto this Incineroar here. And it's going to knock out completely. That was almost full health. That was almost full health of Incineroar 2. Just down around an eighth of its health. That was a very impressive knockout from Dina's side. And now, you know, Rayquaza and Xerneas are two of the most powerful Pokemon in this format. Rayquaza being literally the Pokemon with the most base stats of all Pokemon. And Xerneas being able to just about match that with Geomancy within a turn. It's really hard to counter these two. And especially with what Terran has with her last two right now. There is a chance Salamence, if it has something like Draco Meteor, it can knock out the Rayquaza. Unless the Rayquaza is Focus Sash. We haven't seen its item yet, and there is that chance for sure. Rayquaza swapping out, getting rid of its 2 defense drops, thanks to Dragon Ascent, and adding another Intimidate in the mix for Terran here. The Salamence is going to have to struggle with that. And Xerneas is going to protect. It does not want to go down this turn. Let's see. Terran here going to have to struggle, but there's a shot. You have the Hyper Voice coming out, which is going to do a decent amount onto Incineroar. Gets it down to half. And there is that menacing Moonraze Maelstrom coming out from Terran's side. So the question for this is, did Terran call this Protect and target the Rayquaza, old Rayquaza slot? Miguel knows. I'm so sorry. And the answer to that question is yes, because we see this target the Incineroar. I'm so sorry, Miguel, about this. It happens, so... But we see, you know, Menacing Moonraze Maelstrom is one of those moves where it works on so many Pokemon, and Incineroar just happens not to be one of them. It gets it down to the red, though, from the yellow, so that helps a little bit, and kind of get that confirmation it is Assault Vest, because we don't see a Berry activate. Now, you know, at this point, Xerneas, it's really easy. Xerneas clicks Moonblast on Salamence, or Dazzling Gleam, actually, would be a better option. Lunala is going to protect, though. Fake Out, going to prevent Salamence from moving. Terran possibly expecting a single target on Lunala, but nah, it's not going to happen. It's just going to Dazzling Gleam. At +2, it's over. It's over. It's a critical hit, too, just to add to that unfortunate end there. For that Salamence, it just is like, there's nothing you can do there. You're up against a Fairy type, especially one that has +2 in special attack. Salamence is like a sitting, I would say sitting duck, but it's more like a sitting dragon. So. Xerneas going to get that Moonblast off, this most powerful attack onto Lunala with that Shadow Shield. Now broken, Incineroar is free to throw chop, and Dina Ibrahim's going to take the game and the round. Yes. I'll tell you, that was an intense match. I was starting to run out of breath here, and my voice, which is not good, but who cares, because it was absolutely worth it to watch that amazing match. And congrats to Dina, because she's most likely making it into that top 8. It was pretty much a win and you're in, so we'll hopefully see her later today in that top 8. Hopefully we'll see you guys later today in the top 8 as well. Stick around, because that's going to be the most intense, because only top 4 gets points, which means this next match is going to be the breaker for who gets championship points today. So you definitely want to stick around for that.